And it's looking like we have a deal on Gaza. And we'll let you know. I think it's a deal that will get the hostages back. It's going to be a deal that will end the war. It's going to be a deal it's going to be peace. I think we have a deal.
There were high hopes there when President Trump said that, heading out to the Ryder Cup, and that was before Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu addressed the United Nations General Assembly. And here we are to a culmination of that. Those two podiums there, President of the United States Donald Trump alongside Benjamin Netanyahu, the Prime Minister of Israel, will address the media that has gathered in the White House after their meeting inside the Oval was closed to the press. This will be a huge announcement, of course, to the world, as there is much anticipation. The peace plan, 21 points, has been outlined, has been put out, but there is, of course, a lot of sticking points. As we know, this is a deal that they are hoping will end the war, something that Benjamin Netanyahu has been very clear about. That could have happened anytime Hamas was ready to do so. I'm pleased to bring in right now Simcha Rothman, who is a member of the Knesset, a chair of the Constitution, Law and Justice Committee, as we await Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and President Trump. Sir, thank you for your time. If it does begin, obviously we'll step away. But we just obviously know that there's been some real positive dialogue, a real sort of framework, if you will, here. I know that, it all comes down to whether or not, Hamas will accept some of these terms, but they are in the most weakened state we have seen. And the full intention we have heard is they will be eliminated if they do not take this plan. Will it be enough for them to accept?
Question if Hamas will accept it. Of course, Hamas in the past, and that's why I'm doubtful that Hamas will accept any deal that will actually stand in the standards that President Trump and Prime Minister Netanyahu on many different occasions set for this. Because both President Trump and Prime Minister Netanyahu said in the past many times before that Hamas cannot stay in power after the war ends or during the ceasefire. That's something President Trump said many times in the past. Also, all the hostages should return. And once Hamas returns all the hostages, Hamas will not have any leverage for anything else. And that's not part of Hamas playbook. But I don't want only to talk about what Hamas will do or not do. I think that anyone, and I think President Trump introduced into the world diplomacy very important aspect, common sense. And anyone with common sense need to ask himself, if you want to make peace, why do you demand amnesty for the most crazy terrorists? Many of them killed American citizens and Israeli citizens. Why do you want them? Why do you want them back, released into Gaza, released to the free world in order to plan the next October 7th?
Yeah, Simcha, when we look at the peace plan that has been laid out, and some of it President Trump actually showed to Arab leaders. He had that sideline meeting, we know, at the UN last week. It does involve more of a holistic, wider conversation. It does involve a transitional administration. It does involve having others help to rebuild an international stability force, what that looks like. I just want to get one reaction to a report, because they've been inside the White House now for more than an hour, Simcha. One of the points here is that Israel would not annex Gaza or attack Qatar again. There's reports coming in from CNN that Netanyahu had apologized to Qatar over that Doha strike. So that was sort of a, the strike where they went to take out more top leadership. Doha has also been involved, and some allies of the prime minister don't want Qatar playing any role in this peace plan. So that is also a little bit of news, if you can react to that, because that is something that apparently has just happened behind closed doors here while we've been awaiting this news conference.
So I think it's very important to understand that Qatar, despite, I know that there is a connection between the United States and Qatar, and I'm not, of course, commenting on what's happening in the United States. I can say that Qatar is not a positive player in the Middle East. The Qatar is a sponsor of terror in many, many places in the Middle East, is a sponsor of the Muslim Brotherhood that acts as a terrorist organization in Egypt, in all around the Middle East. So I think that we need to take Qatar. Of course, we understand American interests and we respect them. And I think it's important that the U.S. can have all the interest that President Trump see fit taken care of. But Israel must stand its ground. Israel must make sure, and I'm sure President Trump, because he's the greatest friend Israel ever had in the White House, I am sure President Trump will not allow and will not put any pressure on Israel for a deal that will endanger Israeli and American citizens. You know, you have a lot of American citizens living in Israel. Some of them were attacked, murdered, and kidnapped in October 7th. I am sure that common sense, and President Trump definitely has a lot of common sense, this will prevail today, the deal will be okay. If we will accept the non-common sense aspects, then it's a big problem.
Yeah. Let's address, if we can, the fact that this is not a pause. This would be an absolute end to the war. And the 48 hours after accepting the deal, Hamas will release all of the hostages, and then Israel will release 250 Palestinian prisoners. But this is something that would happen very rapidly when this deal, if this deal can be accepted by all sides. We know the families of those who they even want the bodies. We want the bodies of our hostages back, those people who have suffered. That is something, of course, that was important for your Prime Minister, Benjamin Netanyahu, to put up those loudspeakers when he was addressing the UN. He wanted those speakers to be broadcast. He directly spoke to the hostages in a powerful moment there at the UN.
So everyone in Israel is eager to see the hostages back. Of course, the living, we want them back with their families. The people that Hamas brutally murdered, either in captivity or before, we want them to be buried in the way that is respectful in our tradition, with our religion. It's extremely important to the families. It's extremely important to everyone in Israel. I think that to put in the same sentence innocent people that were kidnapped from their homes with what you call the Palestinian prisoners, which is actually crazy terrorists, murderers that murdered many, many Israeli citizens and American citizens. I think that that's something that we should be very careful in doing, because when we released terrorists in the past, we got October 7th. So we have to make sure that Israel's security is not in any danger because of this deal. I am sure President Trump and Prime Minister Netanyahu will do what it takes.
Yeah, guarantees there. As Netanyahu also said, you would not have New York after 9/11 have Al-Qaeda, a mile away. Simcha Rothman, thank you so much as we await this.
And I want to say a word about Judea and Samaria. Because Prime Minister Netanyahu in the UN said that the objection to two-state solution to the Palestinian state is 99 Knesset members supported it. This July, we passed a resolution with the support of about 80, two-thirds of the Knesset, coalition and opposition, saying that Israeli sovereignty in Judea and Samaria should be applied. This is an agreement in Israel. I know some of America's allies in the Middle East, some of them, they are very strong against it. But we have to understand that the same president who recognized with a lot of courage and put the embassy in Jerusalem knows and understands the importance of Judea and Samaria, the homeland of the Jewish people. We are the indigenous people here, and this is our land.
We're getting some time cues here. We want to make sure that we get out to the news conference and get some reaction from the ground in Israel. We know you're standing by for us after we hear from the President and Prime Minister. We certainly appreciate your thoughtful comments as we await what could be a very, very newsworthy day here at the White House. Thank you so much, sir.